I think Orange Juicers right now, no matter what, are going to get that paid trip out to Honolulu, but both these teams still in contention to earn one of those, and the first step to doing so is defeating each other in a good old best-of-3 Pokemon Unite match.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like there's a chance that the winner of this match could guarantee get it, even if Orange Juicers win. But that math is very difficult. And of course, we can take a look at these teams: Nemesis, Rex, LGC, Metallic, Aznable, and Yeet Fan. We've seen them plenty on stream, I think, so far. So we have got plenty of experience seeing even just how they're playing today. Same thing for both these teams. Obviously, we've seen like 300 games of Luminosity.
Of course, yeah. This is going to be the second time we get to see Nemesis play, and I'm really hoping we get to see a brand new look, because you and I had the chance to cast over them in that winner's side of the bracket, and it just wasn't the same Nemesis that we have seen. Incredibly tough competition in Orange Juicers going up against them, but it felt like Orange Juicers just had the read on them. The question is going to be, can Luminosity discover that same thing? Overlord, Joey, JL, Lutano, and Otter. Absolute lights out performances from Overlord, Otter, so far. So Joey on this Mr. Mime, JL on the constant invades. I think it's Lutano who are waiting on to have a really big breakout performance on some of those central area options, but Overlord has been putting in a ton of work on their Pokemon in the top path.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've been also flexing to a lot of different picks, which has been a really big deal. That was something that we talked about during the interview, is that there are so many good meta picks that now just somewhat fit into their team. And I said it on Here's a Joke, I said it out There's a Joke. They're all Lutano picks, but there are so many other ones. I mean, of course, the Cramorant coming into play. I would say almost like the Leafeon unlocked, right? From being one of the most banned Pokemon to kind of just being around. Yeah,
Leafeon falling down the usage charts a little bit. One Pokemon that has been skyrocketing up because it is newly added to the game and is still at the 100% win rate in our tournament today is Phalanx. I think that is absurd. Is it off broadcast? Did it take some losses?
It did. That was why they had the whole 75%, 100% thing, I think. So I believe
I don't have that stats paper that Duke Snacks had, and I have lost myself, unfortunately. I have to definitely review the notes on the stats page. But before that, we'll be draft of game number 1, Nemesis versus Luminosity Gaming, 2 worlds qualified teams facing off against each other in the draft.
And once again, immediately we're seeing the Tyranitar ban, which is pretty funny because I feel like when we've seen the Tyranitar from Lutano, it's not that it's been bad per se, but it certainly hasn't looked as strong as, for example, the Phalanx or just some of Lutano's other picks, who Lutano usually a kind of a hero player. But hey, we're getting rid of it. They do not want to see that Tyranitar.
Yeah, Phalanx as well, really a bully in this metagame currently, removing that option, but so many top path Pokemon to choose from, whether that's Central Area or top really, I suppose. Asmo will lock in that Umbreon as that first pick. Love that decision, mostly because I imagine either of these teams would love to grab the Blissey. And despite having the Umbreon picked on the other section, Luminosity Gaming will be locking that in their first pick spot.
Really interesting, very early picks. Not that these Pokemon are not worthy of early picks, but to see every single one of these, Umbreon to me particularly is an interesting choice because we've seen it banned a decent amount and first picked a decent amount, but also ignored a lot today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they already started their kind of defender-based strategy in the banning phase while using their first ban on that Trevenant, making sure that Joey doesn't get that. I keep saying iconic pick, but it feels like Mr. Mime has quickly stole that title in terms of Joey's repertoire as they are now locking it in yet again. Final selections for Nemesis. We need to find out what top path Pokemon Metallic is going to play and what is going to head to the central area for Trainer. We did have the hover of the Gardevoir, maybe a counter pick option, but now they are rotating back to what seems like Old Faithful for Nemesis in that Icy Wind Glaceon.
I do as well like the Gyarados. It's one of the few Pokemon, one of the few brawlers, I think, that once it gets online, it's not going to be as worried about the walls that we're seeing out of Mr. Mime, because it's always engaging with bounce. It's just jumping over things. I love to see this. Lutano has been looking very good on the Mimikyu, but we haven't really seen it today.
I know, we haven't had options, but a double evolution composition is a great shot, as well as the tough early game of Gyarados. This gives a lot of room for Lutano to work. You're not too worried about early level 5 flanks from either Sylveon or Glaceon, they can both get those, but they're not super threatening to the enemy squad. Now Overlord and Lutano can work hand in hand on these all-rounders and really try to force an early game advantage out of a otherwise very strong early game team of Nemesis.
Yeah, and even though we do have triple evolution on the side of Nemesis, again, it is 2 of the slower evolutions plus 1 that is extremely fast. So
yeah.
You're not as worried in the early game. There's going to be a lot of other stuff, obviously, on that side to level up as time goes on.
Sure.
So there's a lot of freedom as far as how aggressive we want to see Luminosity Gaming play or passive early on, and just using their space that they will be built to kind of just get their own experience. I feel like the pacing is more up to them.
Oh, absolutely. They are going to be the ones moving the benchmarks of this matchup. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out in match, though. I put the Mimikyu on one of my most picked Pokemon chart just because of some of these players in North America. Freak on Exile, Lutano on LG, just expected to see quite a bit of it. But what we've seen a lot of is LGC's Glaceon averaging 14 knockouts when they are locking in this Pokemon. Obviously, Trainer has mastered this individual evolution, and they are showing it off.
And we got to see that stat again, 75% win rate altogether here at NAIC, but a very low ban rate for failings. However, I think these teams are starting to catch on, but here we go, losers semis. Last chance for some of these teams, both these teams, already qualified, but they want to win.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to update everybody at home, in case you didn't hear before, all of the stats we have on the bottom side of the screen, including the ban options, those are updated to include just the final stretch and this top 8. That is where we are pulling these stats from. So all of these statistics are tournament specific from here on forward.
Nice. This is great information, honestly, to have.
Yeah.
And I am just so surprised at failings. It's so low band with how high the win rate is. But let's take a look at what's actually happening at the start of this game. Like I said, I didn't expect a lot of super early aggression. We're not going to see anything really as far as invasions go. Overlord is sitting, attacking the air, making sure that their form is still strong.
True.
As they need just a few more to evolve.
Got to make sure the B button still works, too.
Yeah,
you got to really make sure that on that Switch controller, you're always ready to go. Lutano at level 5 is going to be abandoning the top side of the map. Normally you don't see that, especially when there is a Magikarp on the enemy side, which is going to throw all their damage towards Aznable. Shadow Claw will do enough, and Lutano's going to take out that Umbreon. Otter, Joey, and Lutano going to get to work in the scoring department.
Wow, that is already a Gyarados. That is extremely fast. I did not even see when that happened. But one thing that I do like, which is now kind of a moot point, but I've noticed a lot of teams, when Gyarados is on top, they actually ignore top or somewhat just keep some defense there and try to win bottom. That way they're ahead in both paths, but that's not exactly what happened here with how fast we saw that Metallic evolution.
Yeah, we're absolutely just trading the central area. It might look like that's Nemesis' home turf, but that is 3 members trying for the invade. Mimikyu will take out 1 as Lutano strikes first. It'll be JL getting involved in that KO battle, and of course Otter. Great sharing from Luminosity Gaming.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised that Otter got the Cramorant again. I mean, that has been an extremely high percentage win rate for that player on this team so far today. And a few teams have answered it, have tried to get rid of it, and I felt like it was a good decision, but you let Otter roam free, and it is a scary thing.
Yes, it is terrifying. Overlord, however, in this position is terrifying just in terms of look on that Combustion. You know my opinions on that Pokemon. But it's not threatening so far in the damage. Not too much aura, you know, if we're going to give it that title. Currently at level 6, looking for that level 7 evolution, more so looking for that level 8 to unlock the fighting styles that Blaziken can bring. Of course, give it Unstoppable with the Overheat is a nice matchup into the Gyarados in particular.
Yeah, that is going to be one of the only really good ways I think that they're going to have to counter that initiation, which is obviously it's very difficult to counter the initiation of a Gyarados if they can find one good bounce or a unite into a bounce. There's just a lot of different things that you can do as Gyarados as it's spinning around. We can see the bounce charging. Right now, though, we might get the first kind of team fight here. Not too many members of Luminosity Gaming trying to defend against Regieleki. We might see an attempt to steal. JL just sitting there, hoping that nobody checks that tall grass, but one Egg Bomb could be it. Yeah,
both of these are support Pokemon, so technically they get that additional bonus damage to wild Pokemon at that level 4 mark, and of course a little bit later on when they get those plus moves. So having a chance to steal is very high in the department of both Blissey and Mr. Mime. Good attempt, not going to make it happen. And with that Hoopa portal down by Rex, they're going to bring the whole squad to try to chase down not 1 but 2 objectives to start this match.
Yeah, rather than trying to burn down this Reggie Ice. Once Luminosity Gaming realized that they had an advantage there, they were chasing really far to try and take down an enemy, but now, oh, no backup there for that poor Cramorant. Gonna be going down, and unless we see a miracle steal right here, they stopped attacking completely. Great turnaround from Nemesis, realizing that was the only chance to steal, and quite a good one, of course, as well, but they managed to get rid of that eject button resource, plus they managed to secure the Reggie Ice themselves, and this tier 1 goal zone with a really big overdunk.
Huge overdunk in this matchup. 166 points from Nemesis. You can see on screen their player cams. They are getting excited, getting locked in as well. Luminosity Gaming are going to need to find a way to respond. And in terms of scoring, it has been tough sledding for this team. LG has not been able to get any big overdunks. With both tier 1s remaining for Nemesis, this Hoopa impact on the game is ever present. Oh boy.
Okay, managed to get the KO. We'll see if there was an attempt to stop that just by pushing everybody back, but there's, I think, just a few too many members, and that's going to be a decent overdunk with the opposite tier 1 goal zone going down. Luminosity taking the top path, Nemesis taking the bottom path, which does probably signify what they're going to be focusing on later in the game, especially with, like you said, Hoopa's mobility being so important. You really want to have that tier 1 goal zone or the counter, and they're actually getting a decent amount into this tier 2 goal zone, down to about half HP.
Yeah, that whole narrative I was building about scoring pressure and how Nemesis had that lead, that is completely gone now as Luminosity Gaming able to put just shy of 50 points into that tier 2. They may have not got a huge overdunk on that tier 1 when they were the break, but they circumvent that disadvantage by scoring in tier 2. Very, very good push for LG.
And now the Regieleki is going to be even scarier for them. They could get some huge overdunks. We're going to see the Unite come out from Otter and the Umbreon as well, stealing away some of those shields from Joey. Didn't actually manage to get all that many, but we're going to see 2 members go down for Luminosity Gaming. Actually, 3 for 2. This is a brawl. So many members going down. 2 coming back through the reset, though. Lutano managing to get 1. Can he get away? Oh, no! Trapped and finally taken down. But in the meantime, we are going to see Overlord come back on the Blaziken, already getting pretty high level. And that means that nobody at this point is going to take that, despite how many KOs there were during that fight.
Yeah, fantastic look from a couple of teams there. I can't believe Metallic's Gyarados was able to tank a Bliss Assistance boosted Cramorant Unite move, basically that entire time. Metallic was able to just stand in front of it and eventually knock out that Cramorant, and then of course, Mimikyu kind of stealing the show. Rex stunned in the final moment when they were trying to secure the Regieleki. They won't be able to earn that objective, but Nemesis does lock up that basement Regice.
Yeah, they actually all just left. Like, they had an opportunity to free fight for it, but they're like, nah, you can take it. I don't really care. And I just want that level of experience. I think they maybe realize that the point lead is really, really close, and they want the strength lead, but wow, they got a little bit wiped right there. Overlord playing at about, I don't know, 5% HP. They didn't manage to get a Citrus Berry, but this is still very scary for them. Yeah, they're just trying to get out of there. That goal zone does go down, and once again, we see a pretty big Unite from Otter. Not sure if they were able to fully get that KO, but regardless, I mean, it's going to be 2 KOs from the side of Luminosity Gaming, and still a decent amount of fight left in both these teams down here.
Yeah, JL just constantly supporting this Cramorant. It feels like they've basically been in their pocket the entire time, and it does make sense. Luminosity Gaming trusting a lot in the ranged attack damage of this Cramorant to set up the Mimikyu and the Blaziken. Mimikyu's impact on the game is so much higher when it can play as the closer. It doesn't want to be that upfront initial damage. If you could Shadow Sneak a target and earn the KO, your value grows exponentially as that cooldown reset can start to land. So Luminosity Gaming, like I mentioned, trusting a lot in Cramorant to do the early grunt work.
And now we are heading to the final stretch. 30 seconds left. We're trying to get a few more level 13s maybe, but it seems like at the minimum, basically everybody they want to be 13 on the side of Luminosity Gaming is 13, and Nemesis trying to maybe just catch up just slightly. 20 seconds left. They farm just about all that they can. No more objectives spawning before the final stretch, let alone a reasonable time before the final stretch. So this is going to come down to the fight. A not gigantic lead for Luminosity Gaming, but they do have the lead, and they do know that. One vulnerability, though, is that Tier 1 goal zone still existing, which is why I think so many of them are kind of sitting up here and waiting to see if anybody tries to get in.
Yeah, you call it a vulnerability, I call it a trap. Like, it's such a fantastic asset to use. I think having your early goal zones still up in the final stretch is a huge asset. A place to heal, a place that you can easily retreat and defend. It is a fantastic look for your team if you're able to hold them all the way until the final stretch. But right now, it is Lutano and Joey hanging around the top side, hunting for Metallic. Lutano very confident they can win that 1v1. We talked a lot about Lutano's Mimikyu in this match. matchup, I really do think the major thing that Nemesis needs to be worried about is this level 14 Blaziken from Overlord. It is going to be a titan if it can make it into the backline of this double EV composition.
All right, now it doesn't look like it cares so much about Nemesis as is Rayquaza, but there we go. We're going to see Otter pop the Unite. Same thing again, once again, with the Asnable on the Umbreon, but it doesn't look like it was able to steal any shields. It might have been a little bit early as the Blizz and shields were still sitting on Overlord. They're actually burning down Rayquaza. I'm not sure exactly how much life it's got left, but just about 50%.
I love what Nemesis did there. They bailed from that team fight, but Rex works all the way to the other side and drops the Hoops Unbound Unite move. Trainer takes out Mimikyu, but now Overlord's getting to work. They're finally brought down. Ethan able to avoid getting KO'd constantly on this Sylveon. Draining Kiss, Mystical Fire putting in some work, and Glaceon gets a KO streak of 3. Trainer popping up. Asnable and Rex are letting him know, and a Quadra knockout for the Glaceon. Rex takes 1, and all 5 members from LG are gone.
From the flank, the secret hoop of flank, a full team wipe into the Rayquaza take. Nemesis fighting from the back foot, managed to get the perfect opportunity, and that's going to be so many hundo burgers, especially in that low HP tier 1 goal zone. They got 3 of them in. That's a 250-ish point lead with only 16 seconds left.
And that is the Nemesis that we have been waiting to show up. Rex is a support player in the North American scene that just seems to demand so much respect from teammates and opponents, and it's for plays like that. When you're running a double evolution composition, you're really susceptible to up-close damage, and you gotta play around that. So they bail from the team fight, kite out completely, allow LG to come in, and Rex just brings the entire turnaround on the opposite side. Not to mention, Trainer and Yifan absolutely got to work on that Sylveon Glaceon pair.
I mean, we need to talk about that Trainer Glaceon. Glaceon, a Pokemon that has somewhat fallen out of the meta. It was for a while, of course, completely picked every single time. It got nerfed, and a lot of teams started to say, maybe we don't pick this, right? Yeah. But, I mean, this is showing just how strong that Pokemon still is. And, I mean, we've seen it do well in the past, but this is a consistent pick that we're seeing so much from this team, and it's just constantly looking so good. Being able to clean up 4 members in the final team fight is just unbelievable. This is also basically our last kind of like inter-region competition amongst these teams, unless they make it into the top 16 of Worlds. So at that point, that'll be a totally different story, but this is our chance here. Nemesis, of course, up 1 game, and if you like to see these teams play against each other, which has been a great storyline the entire season, this is our last chance.
Wow, Nemesis banning the Tyranitar instead of the Phalanx in this position. Definitely not what I would expect. Luminosity Gaming having a few choices of first pick. No Trevenant, which I think is maybe what Luminosity would no matter what first pick. They're actually going to grab the Leafeon. Very interesting to me.
So do you take Phalanx then on the side of Nemesis?
The
other big question is, of course, getting the Blissey ban does mean that we are considerably more limited as far as what the support options are. So yeah, I do like that, being able to take that Hoopa very quickly. Obviously, JL, extremely strong Hoopa as well. You do not want to get like kind of like locked into having to choose any sort of specific support. And then, of course, on top of that, Phalanx, just great.
Yeah, it's so powerful, obviously. The win rate through the roof, it seems. Luminosity Gaming now going to grab that Mr. Mime yet again. Joey has been locking that in so frequently. I think it fills a similar role. You mentioned to Crustle. I actually think it fills a very similar role to Snorlax in a lot of matchups with those engages and big stuns is what you're hoping for it with that Pokemon. And then its Unite move is maybe just a little bit better in that department, a very good displacement into all-rounder fighters. So I think that's why we're seeing so much of that Pokemon. I think I finally found the secret. That's why we're seeing so much of it. Cramorant, Otter's very good at Cramorant.
Yeah, period. That's it.
Exclamation point, even.
Ooh, okay, so interestingly, we are going to see the
Finally!
Finally! Oh, yeah, there we go. Finally the counter on the other side. Lutano as well, potentially on that pick. I mean, obviously there could be switches, but it's looking pretty solidly like Lutano.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's going to be very strong. Lutano, I mean, playing, obviously maybe not the exact same build, but been playing Venusaur for a million years, including here 1 year ago.
Yes, exactly. It might look a little bit different in this year, obviously, running running the Rapid Fire Scarf and Cursed Incense. I actually kind of like that opportunity. Not going with the Muscle Band for maybe the more earlier presence, but as I'm talking, Lutano's currently changing their items, so we'll check back in a moment. But the Energy Amplifier, ooh, actually maybe, who knows? Trainer locking in the Glaceon into this build is kind of interesting to me. I really wonder, they're almost permanently on Icy Wind. There is maybe reason to change that to Shard for the Venusaur matchup in particular, but Wind is working so well for you right now. I don't think you back off that build.
Yeah, I think the other issue here is that there's maybe like a lot of blocking potential on the side of Luminosity Gaming, right? Clefable's always going to be in the way, and we know that Clefable does end up kind of playing like a half tank role, right? A lot of the time, and then Mime's going to be around, so I do feel like there is the potential for people to physically get in the way of things in this match for whichever pick it is.
To slow down Shard, you're saying?
Yeah,
yes. I see.
So, I mean, I have no idea what they're going to go. There's a lot of different options. I mean, this game so far has been about, like, this year flexibility, right? Like, different builds for Pokemon, different roles for Pokemon, especially kind of tricking people in drafts. So, we see a lot of that from pretty much most of the Pokemon we see nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. We see it again and again on a repeat. One thing that I think we're seeing a little bit different, though, in our game number 2 is going to be that Leafeon on Overlord selection. If we want to encapsulate that first game, it did feel like Nemesis and Luminosity Gaming were almost in lockstep in the early game. Felt very, very close for that matchup, specifically in the first few minutes. With that Leafeon being locked in, I don't think that we're going to see a repeat story of that particularly. I think that it's just going to be a little too strong of a presence. We already got that level 4 Leafeon going up against Metallic's Phalanx.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very strong early game team just in general, right? I mean, Cramorant very strong at controlling spacing early on and just being able to force damage on things if they are trying to be a little bit too aggressive. Mime can obviously get some very quick early picks if people are close to walls. And the Leafeon, which we are going to see, is going to be Leaf Blade.
Razor Leaf.
Razor Leaf. I always do that. I always say the wrong Leaf.
Too many blades, too many leaves.
I know exactly which one is which, and yet my brain chooses to ignore that. But yeah, we are going to see that rather than the rather than the Solar Blade. Oh my goodness, now I'm all mixed up.
We got there. All right, Joey moving towards the top side. That will set up a 4v4. Our Nemesis going to be receiving their defender on the bottom side. Fun fact, Joey from Luminosity Gaming has picked Mr. Mime in every single game during NAIC with 6 wins and 3 losses.
That is a 50%. Oh, no, 6 wins and 3 losses. Sorry, I misread that. I can't read now at all. So this is basically the new signature for Joey. I'd have to say it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not getting Trevenant. Nobody is letting that happen. So many bans towards Luminosity Gaming on that pick in particular, so they got to find something new to go to, and it seems like they have found their option. Otter does land the Hurricane on the defense. I think we're going to be seeing that dive Hurricane build yet again. I don't think it was super relevant into Nemesis last time. It's, again, so much mobility. It really felt like Luminosity Gaming was having a hard time locking Nemesis down.
Yeah, but we just need one good opportunity in those final moments for a big Unite from Cramorant, and then it could change everything. Also, Hurricane has been used a lot to try and kind of engage. Right now, Overlord getting so low, the KO. It's going to be Rex getting that KO. Scary hoop of damage. Honestly, it is a little bit scary for a support, but that was a huge win for Nemesis in that center area.
That frozen ground of Glaceon, freezing Leafeon as they hung out a little too long on that tiny circle on the ground, and Trainer and Rex obviously take full advantage. Metallic starting to come online as well, level 6. This no retreat Phalanx is into the enemy side. However, this is why you draft Venusaur. Lutano putting the theory into practice as we now have, I mean, the artist of Deathball running into the enemy squad.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is, I'm so glad that we're going to see it. Of course, for those who don't know, you can actually hit basically every, as Doopsnack calls them, every dink, every one of these little members over and over with this move. So you can basically melt it extremely fast, and you're going to have to find some really strong positioning from Metallic.
you melt it fast, you get your cooldowns back quicker because of Petal Dance hitting multiple targets, and you Giga Drain heal HP from multiple of the troopers as well. Really, I don't think there's a single downside. The only thing I have heard players talk about when it comes to the Phalanx versus Venusaur matchup is sometimes Phalanx can just knock you out before you can Giga Drain twice, and that is the challenge that you have to deal with. So currently, I believe it is a level race between Lutano and Metallic, and right now, Lutano looking very, very good.
Oh yeah, 2 levels ahead. But the thing is, they do have to be in the same spot all the time, and we've seen a really good job with Rex's hoop up managing to portal everybody into different directions. Right now, though, the entire team of Luminosity Gaming all pushing up through that center area, and that is a very unhappy Sylveon Yifan probably not making out of that situation. But they actually managed to trade. Trainer, I believe, taking out Overlord in that fight. Regieleki, for the side of Nemesis, is going to be taken down, but Nemesis got to be pretty happy to at least get that trade on what was essentially a very scary flank.
Yeah, you can see the priority that Trainer and Rex have on Overlord so much. And I will say, that is kind of a signature effect of the Team Nemesis. They will look at the draft, they will look at what Pokemon and how they match up each other in terms of compositions, but they are one of the teams that looks the most at specific players. They pick out a player that they think will be able to win the game, and they try to shut them down every single time. The target priority so far, I gotta say, is working out. Leafeon has hit 9, but has not really had the impact that we were expecting out of the early game from LG.
Yeah, just hasn't had an opportunity. The moment that Overlord walks in, everybody just turns and says hello, and then they just send him back to the base. But right now, Rex is getting chased down, able to escape with the Phantom Force. But oh my!
Those 3 Unite moves back to back, 3 evolutions leaping into the sky, and in the end, it is Nemesis that win that game of war.
Yeah, it's just whoever has more Evolution Unite moves. But this was an interesting time at the 5-minute mark to spend them all. There are going to be some objectives relatively soon, so we might not have some of those Unites back.
All right, this will be Sylveon eventually going down. One of the most bulky Pokemon, or at least attackers, into the game. But Luminosity Gaming really trying to make this team fight their growing moment to take back some of this momentum. They had used a couple of Unite moves, get a couple of KOs, but now they have to secure the Regice in the face of Trainer and Rex. Verdant Anger plus the Clefable auto attack will get the Regice for their squad, but now they have to see if they can get any points in. Finally, Overlord able to get a score on the top side, start moving that attack weight up a little bit more. But Luminosity Gaming at 4 minutes is held to 27 points. How often have we ever said that before?
Very rarely. And again, this is match point for Nemesis to make it back into the grand final. So all the pressure in the world is on Luminosity Gaming right now. However, they were winning that last game, and then the comeback did happen. So we could see the reverse as well. Is that a slow beam on a Mr. Mime to try to shut that down? And it's taking a ton of damage, but Joey manages to get out of there, especially with that wall. So big Unite used for not a whole lot within that singular fight. They are going to manage to get at least 1 KO, but Lutano coming in down to support, and with the usage of that Sylveon Unite, I think this might be a tier 1 gold zone going down.
Regieleki landed as well, which means Metallic could throw in 50 points to the top side and 50 more from Trainer. Gigantic overdunk in the bottom side, and gold zones are starting to disappear rapidly for Luminosity Gaming. Nemesis have not lost a single gold zone and are sitting at a scoreline of 300 points.
Somebody in the crowd is screaming right now. I just want to point that out. I can hear them all the way from the back of the house. There are some Nemesis fans out there that are very excited with how this game is going. And if you're a Nemesis fan, you've got to be excited. This is looking to be entirely in their favor. This is not undoable by any means. The levels are actually, they were exactly even until I finished that sentence, of course. But just barely now, Nemesis has the level lead. So one big team fight, and especially on a Clefable team, I feel like that's exactly where you want to be anyway. One big team fight here could change the entire game, but a 220-point lead, that's very significant.
One last Reggie available in this fight, and both teams showcasing a lot of players on this bottom side. This could be our final fight. Joey goes for one big stun. It's good enough to get that Sylveon. They are down. Great capitalization by Overlord on that Leafeon. Azabel has to run all the way back to the goal zone, hovering on the portal. Hurricane stops the reset. They are not able to recall, and now the fight has to rage on with lower HP. Cramorant down already, right in the first instance of its Unite move. Slow beam onto the Venusaur. Phalanx trying to use the Unite move on top of it. Verdant Anger to deal enough damage to the direction, but Trainer takes out the Venusaur. Nemesis has taken out 3 members. Overlord on the run. JL recalling, and Rayquaza is about to spawn.
barely stopping, or no, barely not stopping that recall. That would have been gigantic. That could have been the game. And now the question is, what do you do with this lead as Nemesis? You used, I mean, on both sides, a lot of resources to not go down in that fight, but we do see now the buff going to Nemesis. We see a big level advantage, level 15 for Trainer on that Glaceon. This is huge, but now both teams are playing pretty passively, and I do get that from Nemesis. Obviously, with such a lead, you don't want to force the issue if you don't want to, but now they're going to have to find really strong positioning. We do see Rex on the bottom trying to make sure that nobody caps into that tier 1 goal zone. They've got both of them up, though, and Luminosity Gaming is going to have to make the first move.
Trainer LGC is at level 15, and they have to play so safe. The only Unite move for Luminosity Gaming is the Emerald 2-step from Overlord, and I can tell you there's only one target that Leafeon wants to be chasing down. Might be the Rayquaza, though, because it starts getting a little bit of damage. Gulping Gatling Missile, bringing that Ray down to about half HP. Rex does land the Surf onto the Venusaur, trying to stop a little bit of that healing, as Metallic is trying to retreat, as they are chasing away from the Venusaur. They eventually go down. Luminosity Gaming starting out this fight with 1 KO, but Nemesis has traded 2 the other direction. Trainer caught in a bit of danger. They're trying to do as much damage as they can before they leave this fight. Joey takes down the Glaceon. Lutano takes down another. 2 members left up for both of these rosters. Rex trying to use the Unite move. They hold on to him for so long. He's bad. He gets a KO streak of 2. Venusaur down. Luminosity Gaming are wiped off the battlefield, and only JL is rushing towards the Ray Pit.
25 seconds left, and we do have only JL up. Rayquaza getting reset. That's not going to be an option. 218 points down. Luminosity Gaming so far from being able to score. Nemesis just has to defend. They've got Sylveon on bottom. They've got Slowbro on top. They've got somebody there for Rayquaza, but it's not going to even go down in time. And Nemesis will close up this losers finals 2-0.
Luminosity Gaming fall to Nemesis, top 4 at EUIC, and now dedicated to the top 2 spots of North America, taking down the 2-time world champion in Overlord and Luminosity Gaming.